It is not going to be easy. It is not always going to be fun. There is plenty of things about this that isn't fun, that isn't easy, but it's so worth it when you're doing something that you truly love.
Pearl World talks to successful businesses that make and sell products.
What's going on, Pearl World family? We're here doing our first business corner where we talk to side hustlers, creative entrepreneurs, small business owners in the hopes that we bring inspirational stories, deep insights on how to do marketing, and just common stories that you can relate to that have to do with building your business. So today, for our very first segment, we're speaking to Stephanie Walfield of High Range Trading Company. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being with us.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. So I am Stephanie Walfield from High Range Trading Co. I am the sole owner, maker, one-woman show here at High Range. And I started mostly with just an online shop, and I most recently started our pop-up mobile boutique. So we renovated a vintage camper. So now it allows people to shop in person and online.
Okay, Stephanie, so what inspired you to start this business?
So I started back in 2017. I was designing baby blankets. Was basically just doing the graphics and having them printed with a vendor in the United States. That was really important to me that they were still like made in the USA. But I was having them printed, and then I would, ship them out to my customers. And then I also started designing a couple different t-shirts for my husband, really. So I started doing like print on demand and drop shipping. And then comes like the evolution. Over the last couple of years, when I was introduced to Supercolor, I, completely changed how my business was going, and I dove right in. And my shop has evolved to be kind of a mix between my designs and some boutique pieces. And then I also work with a lot of other makers and small businesses to help them come up with their own custom merch for their businesses.
Okay, so baby blankets. What was it about baby blankets? What was the story around that?
Well, I had a baby shower that I was attending, and I wanted to gift the mom one of those like super cute custom name blankets. And they were really expensive. And I mean, they're special and I love them. Obviously, I sell them and I make them, but I was like, I can totally make this and come up with a design that matches her nursery. And once I started doing the designs and was sharing with friends and family, and then eventually launched them on Etsy when they like really took off. So that was kind of the start of High Range, was with these baby blankets.
Where did you get your first set of customers?
Okay, so outside of the blankets, because the first one that I actually made was a gift, I think my first customer was my husband's grandfather when I was doing the drop shipping t-shirts. So when I made the announcement that I was, launching this business, I initially started with a Shopify website that got, little to no traffic because I didn't have an audience. And then I made the switch over to Etsy pretty quickly, and that instantly took off with the blankets. So really, Etsy was kind of like my foundation that I built on, because at the time, like Instagram wasn't what it is now. You could make some sales and be posting, but Facebook was still pretty heavy at that point. So it was really building up that customer base on Etsy. And then, over the last couple of years, really building up my Instagram and pulling those people over and converting them into customers.
Okay, so you got into Etsy. Basically, people just like shop Etsy, and so people could find you, and that's how you got your first customers. When did you decide to launch an actual website? How long after doing Etsy, and about how many sales, did you eventually say, okay, this is big enough where I can kind of branch off onto my own website?
Yeah, so I just launched my own website. I think it was in the spring. It was early this year. So I had been on Etsy for, the last 6-7 years, and it was amazing. And in the last 2 years, they have an add-on service called Pattern, where you can pay for your own URL. So you can have your own domain name, which I had, and then it looks like it's your own website, but it's powered by Etsy. So I had that for the last 2 years. Now, the great thing about that was that I was getting the built-in traffic from the Etsy marketplace, but then I was directing all of my Instagram followers to my own URL so that they were coming to my site and then checking out on Etsy, which was really great. But, with that comes the marketplace fees. So the fee structure, I was starting to cue in on what the fee structure was. And then, can I move over to Shopify? And it's a little bit of it's a risk because you're now moving products over to where you're on this marketplace. You have built-in customers, people that are on there all day shopping, looking at all, different Etsy shops. So I guess you get rid of that competition in a sense where you are your own website, but it is a bit of a risk because now you're relying on SEO, your social media, wherever you market yourself to bring them to your website to close that sale.
I'm curious how you utilize marketing to drive traffic. And then can you speak to the difficulties that it actually takes to build a following that you can eventually monetize?
Yeah, so Instagram has been my main focus since inception of this business. I do feel like I've been, cultivating this group of engaged followers, quality over quantity. It's a numbers game. The more people that see your products in your shop is the more sales that you're going to get from it because you're getting in front of so many other people. But it is a huge challenge, especially in today's world. You think that it's saturated, but there's also so many people in the world. So, I just say be consistent with it. That's really my only piece of advice. I am trying to grow my email base, which I think is really important because God forbid any of these social media platforms go away. We need to have a way to reach our customers. It's all of these things that come into play that are necessary for businesses, especially online businesses, to grow.
So you'd say consistency is key.
Yeah, showing up. You just got to show up every day or every other day, whatever you can commit to it. So if you can't do every single day, like I can't get on every single day, but if you can batch your content, like if you could spend one day a week, pull out a couple hours. If your kids are in the other room playing or watching a show, like jump into another room and try to film something really quick. I think it's like an ongoing joke on Instagram that like they say, if you take a minute to film something and then it gets 10,000 views versus you spending an hour and it gets like 50 views. So the numbers, like, yes, you want to analyze the numbers, see what's working, see what's not working, but you can't get so stuck on it to where it stops you from doing it. You have to be consistent if you want to see results with literally anything in life.
Okay, so one of the things that I found unique that you actually have like a trailer that you've modified and made your own travel like pop-up store. I think it's awesome. I'd love to hear the story about how that came about.
Yeah, so part of it was planned and part of it just kind of happened really quickly. So I have forever, since I was a child, wanted to own my own boutique. That was like, my dream job. We kind of just started talking about it in the fall and winter. And I was like, it would be so cool if we could just have like a mobile boutique of some sorts. Like, let's get a camper. We were looking at like horse trailers, different campers, different trailers. And it was just like one random, like Saturday in December. And I told my husband, I was like, find me a camper. Let's just do it. We found a couple. They're really hard to find. So he started joining all of these like Facebook groups. A lot of people want vintage campers right now because it's the trendy thing, but it was the middle of December. So inventory was super low and we had one that we were looking at. It was a little bit above my budget. We tried to lowball the lady. She said no. Then finally I was like, all right, screw it. Just do it. Let's get it. And she came back and said it was taken. And then, you go into a deep, dark depression. I was super upset that night. And then first thing Sunday morning, my husband was like, check this out. It just came on. It's an hour away. So we jumped in the car and started driving before the lady even replied to say that we could come look at it. And it was absolutely perfect. It was a gutted mess. She had originally bought it to convert it into a food truck and realized it was going to be way too much work. So she went out and bought a food truck. but this little camper was already gutted for us and ready to go. So it was just a total like meant to be moment. And my husband is like the handiest of handy. And I knew he would bring my vision to life. So he was able to put in some long weekends and late nights. And he took this shell, it was really a shell, and then created it into this little boutique. So we've only had a handful of pop-ups this summer, but we have some really cool markets planned. The rest of the fall and winter, I have full air conditioning, I have heat. You know, as long as I can tow it with my Jeep, I can keep it rolling through the winter, which is really exciting.
How does this pop-up trailer help benefit your business? Is there some special advantages that you didn't necessarily expect when you first started using it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a showpiece. Anytime people see it, they want to come check it out. It was a little bit of a learning at the beginning because people just wanted to see it and they were like too nervous to go inside and actually shop. But once I was like, oh no, go inside, like we have a full boutique, then they really love it. I think anytime people see something that's different and unique, they like naturally gravitate towards it. So if you see, you know, my camper set up with, I have racks that go outside, I have a little like bistro table that I sit at, so I'm not sitting inside the camper and I can let people shop. So, you know, you create this like little environment around you that is just a little bit more special than just going to buy a t-shirt from a tent at a market. So, you know, having it for that, having it really be part of my display, but then also transport all of my pieces is really helpful. I actually had somebody make a comment to me at a market that I did a couple months ago. And the man said, wow, it must be so easy for you to just be able to pull up and, you know, pop up shop when the rest of us are setting up our spaces. And I was like, no, it's still actually a lot of work. You know, you have to pack things down before you transport them and pop things up and set up your displays and have it look a certain way. So part of it was strategy for the business, was to be able to stand out at events. Initially, we were gonna, you know, build a whole space on the side of our property to have it be almost like a retail location that people can come visit. That's still like the long-term goal. And then also be able to bring it to local businesses. My friend owns a bakery in town and, you know, we're working with her landlord. We have permission to be there. So if she's, you know, busy on a Saturday, I can pull up and park. And then it's just an added value of people that are, you know, going out on a Saturday to go shop. They can come see the camper too. So you know, it's a little bit of both. It's like my storage for all of my items, but it's also a place that people can come shop, come meet me. And then eventually, like I do want to do some maybe like live printing, get a heat press in there, depending on what the event is. So I have some big goals and dreams for the camper.
Thank you for spending so much time with us, by the way. This has been awesome. Wanted to ask you one last question before we follow up. What advice would you give to somebody who's considering starting up right now? If you had to give them, you know, kind of like that philosophical advice about why to do it, you know, what the advantages are, whatever else, what would you say to somebody who's getting ready to start out?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that I said about social media is you have to be consistent. If you can commit to it, then do it. Go all in. It's so fulfilling, whether it's, you know, you're trying to make this as your full-time income stream or you just want it as like a hobby that you can make some money. Having a creative outlet that, you know, you're so passionate about, there's really something to be said about it. So my advice is that if you're going for it, go all in, you know, give it your best. Even if you can't spend, you know, every waking hour working on your business, do what you can and just stay committed. It is not going to be easy. It is not always going to be fun. There is plenty of things about this that isn't fun, that isn't easy, but it's so worth it when you're doing something that you truly love.
Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and your experiences, all these very cool stories. I know that all of our, you know, customers are gonna and viewers are gonna love it. So where can we find you if we want to kind of stay in touch?
So mainly and pretty much every day, you can find me on Instagram at High Range Trading Co. Under there on my Instagram, I have all my links in my bio, but I do have a YouTube channel. I'm on TikTok. I don't post too much on TikTok, but I do try to post a little bit. High Range is on Facebook it's again, High Range Trading Co. I think pretty much everything for my handles is High Range Trading Co. And then my website, again, is highrangetradingco.com. You can sign up for my email list to get a little sweet discount off your first purchase. And then I also just launched a rewards program for my website customers too.
Every business has a story. Let ProWorld help you tell yours.